To the outside observer, motorcycling must look totally insane based on what you see online. But that's the thing, this version exists almost exclusively on social media. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, it all paints an inaccurate picture of what riding a motorcycle is actually like. You'd think it's a non-stop highlight reel of chaos and carnage. Every rider is either doing 186 miles an hour, barely surviving a homicidal encounter with a Nissan Altima, or being wrongfully pulled over by a cop. But the truth is, motorcycling doesn't really look like that in real life. It's a compressed reality formed from fragmented one-off encounters, because that's what works on the internet. Calm is boring and nuance is too complex for a 60-second short. So today, we're going to break down the differences between motorcycle YouTube and reality, because what succeeds online is drastically different than what actually goes down on the road. So let's get into it. Motorcycle content on YouTube presents riding as if it exists within a state of constant disorder. There are so many videos that open with a rider's POV mid-panic scenario. A car pulls out in front of them causing a near-miss situation, or they're on the side of the road with the police lights reflecting off of the mirrored surfaces, or they're approached by a lunatic at the gas station who's drunk, high, mentally deranged, or some combination of all three. According to the almighty algorithm, motorcycling is a continuous series of confrontations. But real riding, like the kind that happens when you're not terminally online with main character syndrome, it's pretty quiet. Surprisingly so, and to a lot of people, motorcycles are largely invisible for better or worse. Most days, you're not getting pulled over. I guess unless you're thought taken, he seems to get pulled over every single day. You're not evading a reckless driver, and you don't even talk to anyone at the gas station. Your interactions with the clerk are typically limited to him saying, "Here you go, boss," after you tap your credit card to purchase a Red Bull. Is that boring? No, it's nice. That's how it's supposed to work. If you're constantly experiencing these high-stress situations, you're either farming content or the worst rider on the face of the earth. Or maybe both. The depiction of chaos is highly clickable, but cameras flatten time, and the proliferation of wild interactions while riding could make someone believe that that is the norm, but it's really not. And this can be bad for ultra-new squids who start expecting chaos or even subconsciously seek it out. You might escalate a situation instead of diffusing it because you've been influenced by what you're seeing online. The best riders don't have wild footage because they never find themselves in a situation where wild things happen. I've been riding for a long time, and every year that goes on, I find myself getting in these wild situations less and less and less. The videos you see on YouTube have redefined what good riding looks like. Online skill is implied, not demonstrated. It's communicated through visual aesthetic. And that aesthetic lends credence to the creator's experience. You'll think, well, they got a $30,000 motorcycle, a couple of expensive cameras, they know how to edit a video decently. Well, they must know what they're talking about. Expensive bikes alone get clicks, but an expensive bike riding at night under the street lights, maybe some B-roll on top of a parking garage, now that type of content just prints money for young degenerates. Especially if you wear the right clout fit. You know what I'm talking about? The AGV Pista helmet, the gauntlet gloves, Alpine Stars boots, a baggy hoodie, and ripped jeans. Come on, at some point you guys gotta think through a new format, right? It's 2026, we're still doing that? It's the most epic uniform for an online motorcycle cosplayer, but just because they get views, because they got all the right pieces, doesn't mean the rider is one that actually possesses real skill. It turns out it's actually really easy to ride a leader bike if you live in the Midwest where there's not a single twisty road in your entire state. Videos of straight-line speed warriors taking their motorcycle to a supercar meet does not mean the creator is a good rider. It doesn't even mean that they're rich, it just means that they have a good enough credit score to finance a lifestyle. My point being, the aesthetic of cool motorcycle guy does not mean they're someone with real skill or experience who should be trusted as a respectable voice within our space. Every other motorcycle video nowadays seems to be an ad, not a genuine, interesting video with a clearly differentiated advertisement placed in the middle, but the entire video is an ad for some product. I know this is in no way exclusive to motorcycling, but it seems to be incredibly prevalent in our space, more and more so each year. Look, I know people gotta get paid, and accepting sponsorships allows creators to be able to invest in higher quality content. I understand it's a necessity in any sort of medium, but I think we can agree that the proliferation of sponsored content has gone a little too far, right? How many videos do we need to see about a Chinese dashboard install? How can you make an entire video about a phone mount? An entire video. It's frankly crazy, and it's boring, and it offers no value to the viewer. But beyond ranting, how does this differ from reality? Well, I don't know about you guys, but the friends I ride with are not constantly trying to get me to use their affiliate links or buy products I don't want or need. Also, I think a lot of riders just aren't fiercely loyal to a brand where they talk about it constantly. Sure, I like Arai helmets, for example, but it's not a conversation starter I have with other riders. In reality, you shouldn't influence your friends to buy things so you get a small kickback. That's kind of weird. Also, in reality, the tolerance for fake grifter brands seems to be much smaller. If you criticize NBT pants in person, most people will say, oh yeah, I don't wear those, or they might say, I've never even heard of those pants. But if you criticize NBT pants online, you get spammed by hundreds of brain-rotted CF Moto owners who say it's heresy to speak poorly on NBT pants because they have certifications now, dude. Well, yeah, they didn't when they were selling white label AliExpress pants, and I did a whole deep dive on that, so go back in the catalog and see what I mean. It's a little hard to get past that. Sorry, I'm not going to move on. In reality, riders buy gear based on their taste and budget, and they wear it till it falls apart. They aren't a walking billboard for phone mounts or comm systems. Motorcycle YouTube would lead you to believe that a fierce loyalty to brands is a fixture of our sweet riding culture, but in reality, when there's no affiliate links, that's not the case.
I know some of you have been clamoring to know, Yam, who won the Honda Hornet 750? Well, this is a cool story. Braden in Houston actually won it, and I was able to do a hand delivery to him. Check it out.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I'm really excited for you on this bike, delivered here in the Houston area. You said you're heading off to the Marines though, right? So you may not keep the bike?
Yeah, maybe not. Probably
Okay.
not.
Okay, probably.
June or July I'm gonna leave, I believe.
Yeah, well, at least it'll be here in a good home. And well, if you see it come up for sale, maybe you pick it up from Braden over here, but hopefully you get a chance to ride a little bit, have some fun, and big congrats to Braden over here.
So big congrats to Braden on winning the Honda Hornet 750. This Moto Guzzi is up for grabs over on yamini.co. Go and click the link down below and make sure you're entered as a member for your best chance to win.
Motorcyclists online are obsessed with numbers. Power figures, torque curves, compression ratios, sprocket size, all memorized as if they were sacred text. A bike gets updated for the next model year, and 7 different creators make 15-minute videos dissecting the minutia of the incremental changes made to the platform as if it matters at all. YouTube makes it easy to believe that knowing all of the nitty-gritty details about dozens of different motorcycles you are likely to never own is somehow benefiting you as a motorcyclist instead of just taking up brain space. The reliance on specs and the finest technological details is just not really how most motorcyclists are living their lives. When they shop for a bike, I'm sure they'll look at the specs, but more often than not, a decision is made when they sit on the bike and something clicks. It feels right, it sounds right, and they can't stop looking at it. It's an emotional purchase. And that makes sense. I don't think most riders know their bore and stroke of their motorcycle, let alone the bore and stroke of a motorcycle they will never own. Making YouTube videos about motorcycles can be creatively challenging. Ask me how I know. It is a daunting task to figure out something new to talk about every week, and spec-heavy content is a pretty low-effort way to fill the 15-minute video runtime. And in a world where you can just type in a prompt in the ChatGPT and find all the information nearly instantly, what value is there to informational content? Basically nothing. Just listing through the specs and comparing them to previous bikes or previous model years is straight-laced and pretty self-explanatory. And look, sometimes that information is useful and certain people seem to enjoy it quite a bit, but I know a lot of people who ride who can't even tell you how much horsepower their bike has or what the curb weight is. They just enjoy riding it, and that's enough. There's a purity about that is missing from the super detailed technical motorcycle content. On YouTube and really the internet in general, it has been grossly normalized how much advice is casually handed out by people without real experience. If you say something confidently enough, you really nail the thumbnail, and then it's treated like wisdom. If someone offering advice was in high school in 2021, I don't think they should be taken seriously. You just can't possibly be a credible source for advice on pretty much anything beyond skibbity toilet lore. Especially online, where there is no context, no follow-up, no responsibility attached. The advice of some random guy with an expensive bike holding a wireless mic in front of their face while they stand in a messy garage with unpainted walls is practically meaningless. But hey, it gets views, especially if it's filled with plenty of hot takes. And even if that advice was wrong or information was incorrect, it will disappear into the void once the next video is dropped. And if it had a negative outcome for someone, well, that's fine. Maybe they lost a subscriber or two, but there's no real feedback. In real life, advice works differently. You can immediately discern whether the advice giver is someone who should be trusted or not. More than likely, it is someone who you have an existing relationship with, who is equally invested in you staying safe and doing things the right way. There's accountability in real life that doesn't exist online. There are gray areas in reality that require nuance. The most dangerous advice is often just oversimplified online. Just do this, never do that. There's nothing in life that exists that simply, especially not motorcycles. Now, if motorcycling YouTube was statistically accurate, let's say it was a proportionally scaled sample of the riding population, you would believe that a significant number of riders were stunningly beautiful women who ride sport bikes in tank tops, leggings, and fuzzy helmet covers. The kind who simultaneously want your attention, but would also never speak to you in person because you smell. There is a whole genre of motorcycle video that exists as some sort of OnlyFans marketing pipeline. But the truth is, just as a majority of riders are not broccoli-headed twerps with BMW S1000RRs, super hot female influencers are also not a significant portion of the riding community. Whether it be men or women, a majority of riders are just normal-ass people. Most typically wear gear. Most don't have to report 1099 earnings on their tax returns for income earned from selling feet pics. The explosion of motorcycle thirst trap accounts didn't happen because rider demographics changed. It didn't happen because the liberal feminists have radicalized our youth. It didn't happen because drag queens were reading to elementary school kids. It happened because we're all monkeys who can't help but click on a video of a woman who's got her hogs out. You know what I'm saying? The human inability to scroll past a thirst trap without engaging with it has validated its existence. Attractive people capture attention. Look at me, I'm beautiful. Attention is the currency of social media. Of course, this has nothing to do with women riding motorcycles. Men, women, or whatever you are in between should all ride motorcycles if they want to. The issue is the way online platforms distort the perception of the culture and reward those whose content works in opposition to an earnest riding experience. I mean, come on, who wants to see some average person riding some average bike of average appearance? I want to see a super beautiful woman riding an S1000RR through a flaming hoop. I got a limited time on this earth, come on! If you make YouTube videos about motorcycles, you get put into a specific niche that you are then imprisoned in forever. Ask me how I know. You're either a sport bike squid or a Harley guy or an ADV dad, and should you ever dare to venture into another category, you will be fiercely scorned. You will not be accepted, and it makes sense for content. YouTube likes predictability. Affiliate brands want to milk your verticals for all they're worth. Audiences like knowing exactly what they're going to get into when they click on a video. Do you dare to grow a mustache? They will make it known that that's the worst possible thing you could have ever done with your life. it is a betrayal of their trust. But in reality, things don't work like that. People change, mature, become interested in all sorts of disciplines of riding. And heck, they may even like stuff outside of motorcycling. Who knows? What was the ideal motorcycle at 23 is not going to be the ideal bike at 33, and likely not at 43 either. In the real world, riders are always evolving and changing. Sport bike guys will also do some light off-roading on a dual sport. Maybe an ADV guy might use a scooter to run some grocery errands, and the cruiser guy might ride a buddy's Hypernaked and have a full-blown epiphany. Human interests are not static in the way an online persona is, because the problem with typecasting is it turns curiosity into personal tragedy. All this parasocial business has people way too attached to an oversimplified version of a creator. Breaking character is defying their trust and loyalty, and most content creators can't afford to do that. Most riders are far less concerned about their own identity or that of their friends. They're not performing a role. They're not acting in a play titled, 38-year-old man in Crocs, high socks, and oversized t-shirt discusses Chinese dash cams in his garage. They're just riding bikes because they're fun. And sometimes they want to ride different types of bikes for different types of fun. Approaching motorcycle from a place of abundance is far more rewarding than sticking to one specific niche, and that seems to be the case online. Motorcycle YouTube is a compressed, oversimplified, pinhole-sized vision of what motorcycling is like in real life. Shocking content, controversial content, brand-friendly content. It's all just content. It's entertainment or educational. Some is good, some is great, some is ill-formed or ill-intentioned, but at the end of the day, we're all addicted to that sweet, sweet content, baby. So don't be surprised when you get your first motorcycle and it doesn't really look like what you've been seeing online, because it turns out it's actually kind of boring to ride a bike sometimes. Thanks so much for watching until the end. I will catch you later. Fact. In Louis Daguerre's 1838 daguerreotype made in Paris, the street appears eerily empty, even though it was actually crowded and busy because the long exposure time erased all of the moving pedestrians, leaving visible only the man standing still long enough to have his shoes shined. Goodbye.